welcome back. Two items which you raised. First, you said that the people wanted to participate to devolve power. Since we're talking about security, we'll assume that you're talking about security. But how about this? Southwest Security Outfit takes off January 9. So that is something that the regions are taking on board. So that's a security way, a way that they are participating in the scheme of things, isn't it?
That's the initiative of Southwest, which kudos to them. And the
IGP was there. They threw their support.
Indeed, but
they have a special forces. They will be working alongside.
Their initiative. And I do pray that the Southeast, the South should also be allowed to exercise their rights. And of course, the people in North Central. The problem we have is that the people have to be allowed to be. You see, like my colleague was saying earlier, security, nobody is an expert on security. To anybody to claim that I'm a professional, I know more, I think it's completely wrong. Security is everybody's business. And I assure you, the local person knows as much about the security. And that is why one of the failures in the architecture of this is that there is poor human intelligence in the architecture.
Your second point is, you say there isn't any force. So I'm trying to understand.
There's no intermediate force between the police, because the police are not trained in, for example, in field crafts.
So when you say intermediate force, what's that supposed to be?
For example.
Because in here, when the president says, I mean, the statement was that when they leave, the police will take off, and then civil defense will assist the police.
The intermediate force is a paramilitary force that is trained like the conventional military, which we don't have.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a suspicion that my very senior colleague here is probably not very familiar with what is going on. As I said, it's not more than 2 weeks now I came back because I have to work with these guys. Today, what happens is you have the civil defense men who are armed. In other words, when things happen, you don't go straight to the army. So to now say that the capacity to maintain law and order and restore peace does not exist is not correct. In any case, I don't know whether you are aware that a national security strategy has just been launched. I will appeal to you, gentlemen, to try to create the opportunity to examine that document.
Oh, we have done that, in fact, quite a number of times, a reviewed national security strategy. I believe you perhaps joined us one of those times.
See, the issue is, it is not in the paper. It is in what is the average Nigerian experiencing. Is it secure? My colleague here, please. The civil defense you are talking about is not trained as a paramilitary force of the equivalent of the National Guard in the US or the gendarmes of our neighbors. They're not. This kind of weapons they carry, they cannot deal with even high sophisticated criminality. So what we're saying, there's a big gap. You see, the anomaly is this. When IPOP came up, they pushed military men to go there. And they declared IPOP a terrorist organization. Why has Buhari not declared the transnational heads militia who are invading our country, who have penetrated our country? Why has he not declared them terrorists?
Well, yeah, okay, let me get a response.
Yeah, you see, I do not know why they have not been declared terrorists. But my attitude is this. In all my service life, I have always been totally dumbfounded when it comes to the issue of terrorism, which in fact was the subject of my research 15 years ago. Whether a group is declared as terrorist or not, I do not think that that is at issue. And we want to give the guys who are still in service, long after we have left, some level of credit. I do not think that this is done by happenstance. You just wake up. And the other important point is this. I don't quite agree with my senior colleague that the armed civil defense men don't have the capacity to do what they've been assigned to do. I do not think so. Again, let me repeat, maybe because of what I have seen live. Maybe they were not created for that purpose. In fact, not maybe. They were civil defense, running around with civilians. But I think it's under General Abbey when this move was made. And they were sent to the military to be trained. So if the military withdraws, it's not just going to be that there is no one on the ground.
Okay, we've got Tony Okosun. He joins us via Skype as well. He is a retired Army officer. We're not militarizing the conversation. But Tony, good morning and thank you for joining us today. So this question about withdrawing the army from volatile spots, and when they do go off, you have the police perform the internal security functions. Well, much as there may be some misconceptions in some quarters, is it as clear to you? What do you think?
Thank you, Chamberlain, and Happy New Year. Thank you for having me. The issue of withdrawal by the military from certain operational location is a standard military operation all over the world. Of course, you don't expect the military to stay forever in some certain locations. If you do that, what you are saying is there is no progress made at all. If you listen to the speech or the brief from the Chief of Naval Staff after the National Security Council meeting, he did say there are areas, not completely the entire nation. There are areas specifically where there are improvements. Of course, you will agree with me also that there are areas where we've gotten improvement on the fight against insurgency. And we need to bring in the police so that the military can also concentrate in other places. And the argument that the military should not be withdrawn, of course, it's normal. It's normal. You have citizens who have the right, of course, to question the policy of government. It's not uncalled for vis-a-vis the current security situation, the current security trend, as you may have it. ISWAP is there, and we also have others coming in. The military will need to withdraw from some areas, and they have the police and other paramilitary agencies coming in to take over from those areas. And of course, we need to build the capacity of our police force also. And I think I agree with the security strategy that we should withdraw from some areas if assessment is made, and we are sure that those areas can be taken over by civil authorities. Why not? It should be. I agree with that completely.
Which of the areas do you suggest, having done and seen things yourself on the ground, living in this country, which of the areas do you think if they withdraw some of the security personnel, there might not be much hue and cry?
Well, that is not for me to say. That is not for me to say. I am not at the strategic level. Those who are planning, of course, know.
But you see these things every day, don't you? I mean, you live in this country.
I wouldn't want to go there, Chamberlain. I would like to leave that for...
Let's try. You gentlemen here will go there. Well, you work with that sometimes. What do you think?
There is something I would like to explain, and thank God I believe that my very senior colleague will agree. Military operations have standard formats. If a body of men is attacked suddenly and they scatter in every direction, that would be a rout. If you are going to withdraw, and he knows, first, the decision to withdraw must be based on sound assessment. And the procedure for withdrawal is not that everybody will pick up a weapon and take off. No. Nobody is going to withdraw troops from an area in which security is not guaranteed. So, since there are people working on this, let me tell you something, if they try to withdraw in a haphazard way, you can be sure that the enemy will attack them. So you have an intermediate position, you watch the thing develop, then you move to a final position. So I am comfortable with the decision. But as I said, all the anxieties that have been expressed are totally justified. I agree. But you can't then leave the soldiers there and not allow the other agencies.
But you know,
No.
okay.
Yeah, I think first of all, we're mixing up two things. And my younger colleagues are mixing up two things. And I would have thought that they are better trained than I am because the courses they went through are better than, just as I was better trained than Obasanjo or Babangida.
Yes.
The issue is this. You do not withdraw troops when there is still the threat. You withdraw troops when you've defeated and you move to the second phase of police action. At the moment, I doubt it that we've defeated the Boko Haram.
Well, you heard him say the other time that he just returned about 2 weeks ago. and
Sorry?
that- You heard him say that he just returned about 2 weeks ago and that the threat doesn't look as scary as...
Can I say, he doesn't know better than the governor of Borno.
Yes.
Does the governor of Borno, is he comfortable that they withdraw the military from Borno or Yobe?
Are you suggesting that they will draw military from Borno or Yobe because you think they defeated Boko Haram? Is that what you're saying?
No. In fact, in my opinion, Boko Haram has not been defeated.
Fantastic.
Contrary to what we hear in the media or some of these aides of the president, and in particular the Minister of Information.
So where do you think the war is being won? I need
No,
you to-
good. Let me explain to you. It is not conventional fighting. So you don't win a location. For instance, see how they suddenly appeared in
Yobe.
Yobe. Let me tell you something, gentlemen. These guys are faceless. They have no uniforms. They have no barracks. And when they are going to attack, there are two things that we ought to know now. They don't assemble 1 hour before. In a few minutes, you just see people coming from various locations. And then the fight will happen. I think I'd like to emphasize this. Let us give credit or the benefit of the doubt to those who would actually decide that the troops should move. This kind of hit and run is going to last for a very long
But
time.
gentlemen, don't forget that there's a background to this. The last time this Wadome case came up, they actually won the Wadome case between the army and the police.
Yes.
So this matter came up that the army needed to withdraw strategically from some areas where there wasn't any serious matter. For instance, many suggest the southeast, some say Lagos, Ogun. That if they withdrew the army operations from those areas, what's wrong with it?
Fantastic. But see, this is the point. The point is that these places are not as volatile as the places the military should be. But instead, you have troops sent to these places, especially in the southeast. I traveled. The roadblocks you see in the southeast is much more than anywhere in the whole country. Are they southeasterners? Are they prisoners? You can't travel between Onitsha to Abakaliki without meeting so many roadblocks. What are the Southeast? Have you committed any offense more than any person else? A people who are industrious and business-minded, and there's business going on there, and yet they have much more police. In fact, it is the best place for a police commissioner to be posted to. Because why? Because there are other interests. Actually, what I'm saying is that we are still at war, and the war is in the northeast and in the northwest. We are under threat, the two major threats, the Boko Haram and the transnational herdsmen, militia. The word transnational makes it that you cannot say that you cannot divide internal security and external aggression as we used to do in the military. The things have changed. Nature of warfare today has changed so much. And this is why a country like America established the home security distinct after 9/11, because there's so much confusion now. There's no more the issue of the armed forces for external aggressors. Today, when I was a young man in the UK, you never see a policeman in the UK carrying all the combat. Now you see them everywhere. Things have changed.
Let me even pick up on that. Colonel, when he says the establishment of home security as a result of 9/11, but in our own case here, have you seen a commensurate response as a result of Boko Haram?
Yes, indeed.
Which one? How?
I don't think that there is anywhere where we've had Boko Haram operating in which we don't have security men. Let me admit something. We started training and creating units for Boko Haram kind of operations 10 years late. Now you have established in the Nigerian Army special forces. It is not everywhere. Let me give you a small example. Suppose as we are here, someone holds everybody up. It is not every soldier who can extricate us. We have special forces now. We have a special forces training establishment.
How has that affected the security consciousness of the average Nigerian?
Good. It hasn't. But for me, I cannot believe that we have a national orientation agency.
We do.
I know we do. But they're not telling us anything. You know. So it is not the business of the forces that are in combat to try to convince people. But I'm so impressed by this point that you made. Namely that when they are withdrawing, they can withdraw from Lagos and Ogun State and all that. And wherever place, I mean, no commander will remove troops from a place that has not been secured. I think that we should just give them that benefit that, well, they are going to withdraw people, troops, gradually, and they will not go to a place that is unsafe and withdraw the troops. Yes.
Well, Tony Kosun, if I could bring you in now, we also do have highlighted this morning that the Southwest Security Outfit will take off in January 9. We're just also comparing it with how some other countries have responded to the security challenges that they do have. But moving into this year, 2020, from your perspective, do you think that the security consciousness of the average person out there has improved, and in what measure, as a result of what we've seen with Boko Haram? Okay, well, gentlemen, let's set agenda for the governments now, moving forward.
Just before that, I mean, we have this message from Shegun was saying that, one of our mails, saying withdrawing the soldiers and replacing them with police will be suicide. Goes on to say, please tell the consultants to come to Biu and travel through Damboa to Maiduguri and Damaturu through Buretai. I promise he won't come back. Well, very strong words he used there. Well, he said recently attacks have been intensified in quite a number of places and a lot of lives lost. I have pictures, evidence. It goes on to say is in Biu, Borno State. Now that's someone on the ground.
Nobody is going to withdraw soldiers from that kind of place.
How do you know?
I know because...
Intelligence.
One, I'm sorry I'm saying it myself. I'm a very well-trained soldier. And I know that nobody, but that's why I explained to you, even the withdrawal has a process. You don't take people away straight away. You move them in phases. I will be very surprised if they are taken out of a place like Biu and so on. I think that is the problem. I believe, like Chamberlain said, they will take them from people like Lagos, places like Lagos and all that. But I want to make a point quickly that related to this. Government is in a catch-22 situation. He has talked about so many checkpoints as you go to the east. If government were to withdraw those people, what you hear next is they're not protecting us. So whatever you do, they will say, there are soldiers everywhere, but they've left us to our own fate.
No, but do you have to be on the streets for them to know that
is
they're
it
being
indeed.
protected?
And you say you're a professional soldier.
And that's the role of intelligence.
You don't have to be on the streets.
and you're a professional soldier.
Yes.
It's wrong that, it is wrong. You see, when you over visible, first of all, let me not miss out the point. The fact that this withdrawal was even announced before the withdrawal is a mistake. Like you said earlier, you shouldn't do that. It was completely unnecessary, just as the Buhari's saying Africans can enter Nigeria, completely unnecessary. And it says that it's going to start this first quarter. I think the issues, let me go back to the point you made. What's the agenda? First, I pray that the cabal allow President Muhammad Buhari to change the service chiefs. The services themselves, a number of them want to be changed. A number of them.
Why do you think is this quote-unquote cabal that is in the way of anything?
Pardon?
Isn't the president capable of taking his own decisions?
Because if the president were acting like a military general, he would have known that the norm in our training, in our profession, that a service chief does not overstay to the point that you've extended from June 2017, we're now entering 2020. If the president is acting like a true general, it is out of order to breach the Military Act that stipulated there was some good reasoning and thought given to that. And that act, he was a military secretary, the president, he should know better that you cannot allow a service chief to last more than 5 years and some service chiefs are over, they serve for 2 years.
You referenced, you referenced the national security strategy the other time.
Yeah, there's a national.
How does that dovetail into the security agenda for this year?
For me, that is a kind of compendium. It is very comprehensive. And there is something that is extraordinary about it. It didn't just talk about the incidents that we see, the action that criminals are taking, without looking at the cause. You know, usually people treat symptoms. First, it has identified all the areas. Two, it has also tried to, for instance, they were talking in that document about unemployment, that if you have so many people who are unemployed, they are going to be hungry. And I am not a criminologist, but for crime to occur, there has to be a need and there has to be an opportunity. I think that what I would like to say about that document is this. I hope that they will pursue the implementation vigorously. Why? There are people outside the security, like ministries, departments, and agencies that have been put in that document to do a couple of things. If it is not monitored, they won't do it. Why? They won't know what to do.
You know, let's get Mr. Tony Okosun to add his thoughts to this security strategy discussion, especially because we're in 2020 now and security will be a major issue. So how do we tie this together, Mr. Okosun?
I think we must accept something, and that is we are getting to a situation where we can't have the military in every location in this country. I want us to accept that. We must get to, we have gotten to a situation rather where the police and other security agencies will have to take over some of the assignments, some of the duties of the military. All over the world, security challenges will always increase. How we handle it is what is more important. We must build the capacity of other security agencies. We must allow them space to operate because you need them. I tell you, you need them. So if you allow the military to occupy everywhere, you have roadblocks, you have the military there, you even have some motor parks where people are protesting, you have the military there. I mean, it's not right. In the name of internal security, you have the military everywhere. We must begin to look at these areas. Where do we really need the military? If there are areas, like I said earlier, that has improved and we need to move the military out, please let us move the military out of there and allow the civil authority to take over. I agree with Colonel Ian. He said in his comments to him saying the security situation that we have now is not like the ones we have in the 80s. I agree. So we keep developing our security strategy to meet with current challenges. And the military cannot, I repeat, the military cannot do it alone. You need the police, you need other security agencies. At a time, the military may become overwhelmed. What do? If you don't build the capacity of other security agencies, by the time you will need these other guys, they might not be there for you. That is my take on the withdrawal. And of course, if you...
Okay, we appreciate your thoughts this morning. Tony Okosun is a retired Army personnel. And gentlemen, thank you also, Retired Colonel Ola Majiogbe and Retired Colonel Tony Nyam. Thank you both for coming on this morning. So you can keep your comments coming through, but we will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.